On live. Where are we? All right. Well, Kufar, Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crescent Discussion Group. This is a weekly blog talk radio show dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. We are here every week, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Only once a week now. We were doing it for, and that was just way too much. You know, so when you do it twice, it's like when you're a teacher and you have to teach two separate classes. Well, you have to do two separate preps per day, meaning that you have to prepare two separate lessons. You have to prepare two separate assignments and all this. And it's just, so once a week is fine. And I see happy Psalms or Palm. You know, I said that this morning. Chloe is in the chat. She said happy Palm Sunday. Yes, we had that this morning in church. When I was taking prayer requests for Sunday school class, I wrote down Psalm Sunday. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It's Palm Sunday. It's triumphal entry of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ into Jerusalem about 2,000 years ago. Okay, so I'm glad to see everybody here today. What we're going to be talking about, and I think we've done this topic before when we've talked about credulity. Have we done this before, where we've talked about some of the things that you have to believe as a Muslim, or else, basically, is what it is. So, what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing some of those things that you have to believe and profess to believe in order to maintain your Islamic faith. So we're going to jump right into this, if you don't mind. Let me see. Let's see. Present. And am I right when I do this? Nope, I'm not right. Present. Share screen. Bada bing. There's the screen. Bada boom. All right. I think we're there. There we go. Okay. And I kind of like this this headline here. If we ever got a headline that says an army of squirrels overthrew the French government, would you guys believe that? Would anybody here even think?
I would now. I would now, definitely 100%. I mean, why not?
Well, I mean, it's the French. The French don't even defend themselves.
And I appreciate that, Paul. Your sense of history there. It is the French after all.
So it's slightly possible, but it's more likely an army of Muslims.
It's not going to happen. But I mean, when you think of the French are the French. So it's possible. But no, it's not going to happen. And this is kind of what I'm driving at when we start looking at Islamic scripture, when we look at the Quran itself. And what is important about this is that it isn't that we believe these things. It's that these people that we are engaging in debate, defending, providing an apologetic of the Bible, against their attacks, against their, and I would say often say their convoluted eisegetic type understanding of the Bible. They believe these strange kind of things. Now, they don't believe that France was taken over by some squirrels, but there's some stuff out there that we're going to go over today that they actually do believe. So let's jump into the next slide here. So when we look at credulity, and this is why I say this is the Islamic credulity. Now, what does credulity mean? Most people, this is kind of a word you throw out there. Most people don't know what it means. But this is just, it's a readiness or willingness to believe just about anything on slight or uncertain evidence. So what we're going to be looking at is the credulous signs of prophethood, Satan, man's. These are just kind of, how do I say this? Because when you do this show, we want to keep things like light-hearted humor.
Man's best friend.
Yeah, it deals with, well, what do you think that topic's going to deal with?
I'm thinking about dogs. Yeah.
What do Muslims believe about dogs? Well, we're gonna take a look about that. We're gonna look at, let's see here, urine. I know. Hold fast. Hold urine. The transformation of animals, their metamorphical abilities of animals. Women, of course, that's always a big topic. Muta counselors. Where's Dr. Kufarphobia? We should have him up here providing guidance on that one. We'll talk a little bit about jihad and apostasy, how stones are rolled on their own, and and some talking trees, even flatulence. We even have to have a topic about flatulence, believe it or not. Now, if you don't believe this, you're in trouble. Muhammad the enslaver, not the how do they view him, where he was the emancipator? Muhammad I've heard that go around. Muhammad
you'll hear that in Black Muslims will talk about that.
Yeah. Muhammad and the anthropologist, knowing about human origins. Pedophilia is okay, as long as Muhammad is doing it anyway. Muhammad and ethnology, that and his genetics, Muhammad the geneticist, how he's able to tell us all about human genetics, and the astrologist. Oh, and the ethnic cleanser. Okay, so there's a lot of things that go on in here, but what we want to do is we want to turn to the fact. I think my phone is going off like crazy here. I will say that the Iowa Hawkeye women are in the championship game this afternoon, and I was working on the show, and I have not had time to check and see how they're doing. If somebody could maybe do a Google on that and tell me how they're doing and tell me what quarter it is, I might appreciate that. Anyway, that's what my wife, she's out. Anyway, she took my anyway, okay, never mind. She's watching the game from the Suburban. She got my generator out there. She got the TV. She got it all hooked up to Wi-Fi on her phone. I mean, she didn't want, because my granddaughter had softball practice today. And anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and bring this back here and take a look at what it says about Sharia law. Now, this is straight from Reliance of the Traveler, Division O, Section 8, Paragraph 1. And it tells us what apostasy is. It says, leaving Islam is the ugliest form of unbelief. You have to be a kufar. It's kufar. It is.
That's how I like to spell it too. Kufar.
Yeah, but then I have to change my email address. I don't want to do that. So I appreciate that. And the worst, it may come about, and then it gives a couple examples of that. Okay, so apostasy is the worst type of behavior you can engage in Islam. So you would want to know, therefore, what is apostasy? Or what is the punishment for apostasy? So you go down to the next paragraph in Reliance of the Traveler, and it says, when a person who has reached puberty and is saying voluntary apostatized from Islam, they deserve to be killed. And do we see this often? Yes, we see this often. So we could see that the enforcement of the apostasy clauses that we find in the Sharia are even practiced today, and we see that all over the world. So what is apostasy? And this is what I'm going to be talking about today. One of the things that is defined as apostasy, if you go to, I think this is the next page over, and it says to deny any verse of the Quran or anything which by scholarly consensus belongs to it or add to a verse that does not belong to it is considered apostasy. What is the punishment for apostasy? The punishment for apostasy is death. They can be killed. So this is not a, when we start joking around with some of the things that they're forced to believe because it's in the Quran and scholarly consensus says it belongs to it, it's really not that funny. But it is that funny when you start examining it in light of logic, the laws of logic. Okay.
Now, Eric.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that takes out all the Quran only believers. That takes them out because they don't believe in any scholarly consensus on anything.
Yeah, and I hear you guys.
They don't even believe the Sharia.
Yeah, and I hear you guys engaging these people. You're on the struggle bus trying to deal with these people. What's the one the Black Pope or no? Who's there's one that keeps coming on there, and I don't know why you guys continue to talk to that clown.
Black Truth.
Something like that. Yeah.
He's a likable guy, but he's so conniving.
He is. The guy is he's obtuse, is what he is. I mean, you can sit there and show him that, hey, look, it doesn't mean this. And he goes, oh, yes, it does. How do you know that? Well, in the Quran,
that's all the conversations we have.
It's only defined in the Hadith. So how the heck do you know? Yeah, Chloe is right. This guy, Black Truth guy. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Connie. The guy's a flipping fool. He really is. And God bless you for trying to engage people like that. But I think a great thing to do is to engage people like that because it demonstrates how horrifically scarred they are by having to follow the Quran. I mean, this is just, it damages your brain. Danny calls it the Black Truth. The Black Truth. That's funny. Okay. All right. So, and here's why this is important, because all Muslims are to follow God, and to follow what God says is to imitate what Muhammad did in every way that they can. So let's take a look at how he prayed. It deals with everything from how he prayed, how he ate, his grooming habits. And we're not going to talk about all of his grooming habits, his hygiene techniques. We're not going to talk about all his hygiene techniques. But in order for the faithful to do this, they have to follow these traditions that are attributed to them. Now, where do these traditions come from? They come from the Hadith. Is that the current score? Is that the final score?
That's the current score. Third quarter.
Oh, it's only the third quarter? Okay. All right.
Yeah, from what I can
and
tell.
I tell you what, they have a girl on that team. I don't mean to. Well, I do mean to diverge here. They have a girl on that team. I've seen like Steph Curry from the Nuggets shoot off the dribble. And I played high school. I played basketball in high school, and that was one thing I was. And you have to practice it. I mean, but the distance in which she is able to drain those shots off of the dribble is just, because some people can set up, and if they take a moment, they set up and they can shoot long distances and be very consistent. Shooting off the dribble is calculating on the fly how far, how much emphasis, there's all kinds of things. And to watch that girl, Clark's their name. And I haven't watched a girls' basketball game all year. And I watched Friday night, and the girl is just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. Okay. Back to the show. Sorry. Get off this thing. Okay. So in order to be faithful to Islam, one first has to follow the traditions attributed to the Prophet. This is why the Black Tooth guy is lost. And I'm not going to say why I put that toilet paper up there. I'm not going to mention 3 stones. I'm not going to talk about taking pubic hairs off from your arm. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. But to follow the Sunnah of Muhammad is a way to attain Jannah.
Dude, I told you I'm in negotiation for that Islamic toilet paper as a sponsor. We're not there yet, so we're still negotiating.
Okay, well, I appreciate you doing that.
I bet you could sell some stones.
There's a local rock quarry here that might help us out.
No, the stones have to come from Mecca. They have to be blessed in the Zamzam water and the camel urine. It's a special thing.
Oh, jeez.
I was thinking this past week, because I'm really drilling down deep on this Mecca thing and the lack of evidence for it. And we look all around Mecca today and what all these building projects are going along. They essentially have destroyed whatever archaeological evidence would have existed by digging it up and hauling it off. And that's not how you do archaeology. Of course, you don't go through. Dominic talks about the sifting project, but I was thinking that the Zamzam well is still there, and this would be a artifact-rich environment, because if the Zamzam well is as old as they claim, 2,000 years old. Well, it's got to be 4,000 years old now, because this is supposedly where Hagar was cast out. And this is another thing to think about. You have Ishmael and Abraham building the Kaaba here, and then you have Hagar, and Ishmael who had been cast out 30 feet over here at the Zamzam well. It makes 0 sense.
Have you seen?
Yes, out there. She's just down. She's down the road about 20 feet and to the left.
Have you seen Al Fadi and Jay Smith's latest YouTube on the Zamzam well?
I have not.
You need to go watch it. It's a major exposing. I mean, wow.
Are they talking about
I may have seen
plumbing?
he was talking about the sources for water in Mecca today, and they have all those water tanks up on.
That's where it's coming from. Do you realize how many millions of gallons of water they have to pump in there just for the Hajj?
Right. Yeah. I get that.
And it's desalinized water.
What's that?
It's it all goes through desalinization plants.
Right. Yeah.
It comes straight out of the ocean.
Yep. That's the Red Sea there. Sure. I've seen that one. And I guess they're like the largest tanks. There's a record of the largest tanks, and even bigger than oil tanks where we hold oil. Or I've seen that. Yeah. But here's what I was thinking though, based on producing an artifact, because this is the thing with Mecca. There's no artifacts. There's no archaeological evidence supporting its existence prior to the 7th century. There's none. It's a black hole. There's no cartographical evidence, meaning there's no map evidence. And if this is supposed to be on a major trade route, it would have been on a map somewhere. There's nothing there. There's no manuscript. Nobody wrote about it. They cling to this Ptolemy thing from the 2nd century where he says Makaraba, and we did a whole show on that, blew that completely out of the water. So when we think of trying to get some type of artifact or some type of archaeological evidence, all you have to do is go down to the Zamzam well. Surely there's, people have broken pottery through the centuries, retrieving water out of there from somewhere. Go down there, find pottery shards that predate the 7th century. That would be, I would think that would be an easy fix. But they can't even do that.
No, there's no museum or anything of any artifacts anywhere for where they dug all that up. Nothing.
But we're the ones that have to deal with corruption of our Bible, right? No, it's absolutely silly. It really is. Okay. What is this? You were beat out by another dude for the Bud Light commercial. What was that for?
I think you did. It was about the attempted commercial for the Quran paper.
Oh yeah.
TP, the Quran
Yeah, did you
TP.
see that one trans guy did some type of Bud Light commercial thing this morning? It was in the news anyway. Doesn't
Oh yeah.
yeah. Let's just get away from that guy. All right. Okay, so Muhammad's celestial bodies. Now, when we think of a celestial body, we think of what?
Planets.
Planets, yes. Celestial forms that appear in our sky during the evening, during the day. And of course, this first one deals with, you know it, that famous monotheistic, Sharia observant Muslim, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great and his piety that we all know about, because all of these stories that we hear of him are written by a bunch of Islamophobes and haters and bigots about his debauchery and his proclivities and his desires to worship the pantheon of gods from Greece. He was a pious Muslim, and he reached where the setting sun or where the sun sets on the earth. Now, we know this is false. We know that, since this is in the Quran, and if it's in the Quran, then and the Quran is supposed to be from God, how can this possibly come from God if this is so wretchedly wrong? How can somebody ever believe this? Well, let's take a look at what Ibn Abbas wrote. Ibn Abbas was contemporaneous with Muhammad, and he said, till where he reached, commenting on this verse, where the sun sets, he found it setting in a muddy spring, a black and muddy, stinking spring. It also said that this means hot spring. Now, folks, Ibn Abbas is contemporaneous with Muhammad, and he is saying that the sun sets in this muddy pool of water. This is one of the greatest scholars of Islam, and his commentary on the Quran is held up as one of the greatest works and commentaries on the Quran that we have. But Ibn Abbas isn't alone. Al-Jalalain gets in on this. Al-Jalalain also opines. He says, until when he reached the setting of the sun, the place where the sun sets, or place where it sets, he found it setting in a muddy pool. It is setting in look at what he said. It's setting in a spring. But notice, in parentheses, they add to Al-Jalalain, described as seen, because whenever you see these brackets, that indicates the translator is adding this in. And it says, from the perspective of the eye, for otherwise it was far larger in size than this world. Let's take a look at what Ibn Kathir says. So he says the furthest point that could be reached in the direction of the sun setting, west of the earth. As for the idea, now Ibn Kathir kind of straightens him out here, of reaching the place in the sky where the sun sets. This is something impossible. So even Kathir realizes that this is stupid. And he's writing what Ibn Kathir was, 1400s, 1200s, somewhere around there. Am I right on that? I can't remember.
I want to say 1200s.
Wait. NASA, I thought NASA proved this. Didn't NASA scientists prove this? No, that was the moon thing. No, it was the moon. Right. No. Go ahead.
They found it right there on the moon.
What, cheese? Did they find cheese?
I don't know. They might have.
Yeah, NASA said something about don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So Ibn Kathir thinks that. Now, so you have this scholar, you have Ibn Abbas, who's contemporaneous with Muhammad, thinking that this is true. But then you have Al-Jalalain trying to provide some degree of separation from it. And then Ibn Abbas is saying, look, this is impossible. We know this is impossible. But what did Muhammad think? Well, let's take a look. Narrated Abu Dar, the prophet asked me at sunset, do you know where the sun goes at the time of sunset? I replied, Allah and his messenger know better. He said, it goes till it prostrates itself underneath the throne and takes the permission to rise again. And is permitted then, a time will come, it will be about to prostrate itself when its prostration will not be accepted, and it will be asked permission to go on its course, and it will be permitted. So he's talking about the Son prostrating to God. But he also says something else. There will question thee concerning, I will recite to you mention of him. We established the land. We gave him away everything, and he followed. When he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a muddy pool. Okay, so they will question thee concerning dual Karnain, which is Alexander the Great. Say, I will recite to you.
But this is actually, this isn't Muhammad speaking. This is actually Allah speaking.
Yes, this is Allah speaking. When he reached the setting of the sun and found it setting. Okay, so once I was here's the hadith that I was looking for. I'm getting my phone blown up.
Your wife happy about who's winning or losing?
It must not be going well for Iowa. I don't know. Okay, so once I was with the prophet, a donkey on which there was a saddle or a piece of velvet that was at sunset. He said to me, "Oh, Abu Dhar, do you know where the sun sets?" I said, "Allah and his messenger know better." He said, "It sets in a spring of murky water, and then it goes around." Now, was that in that other one? She knows better. He said,
"It still prostrates itself under the throne and takes the permission to rise again."
Yeah, this one. Let's see. This one is volume 4. I don't know which one I got that from. Here it is. Okay. Anyway, it sets in a spring of warm water. It sets in a spring of warm water. So when we look at these, this is final review translated. Where is this coming from? Hadith edited.
Abu Dawood.
Abu Dawood. Yeah. Okay. So this is a Sahih Hadith by Abu Dawood. So it sits in a spring of water. So Muhammad believed that it sat in a spring of water. Okay, now, how do we determine whether somebody is a prophet? How do we determine if somebody is...
Well, he's not supposed to have any false prophecies, let alone...
That would be...
here. Yeah, then he would get stoned if we're following the law.
Yeah, if they always make you
can't,
that if
you have to follow all the law of God. Oh, guess what? I think somebody would get stoned for that one too.
Well, you definitely be, if you followed the Sunnah of Muhammad, you would find yourself in jail if you tried to enslave people, if you tried to rape people, if you beat your wife, if you married little children, engaged in sexual activity with them, you would definitely find yourself, and hopefully and gladly find yourself in jail.
Weren't we told there were no more prophets?
Say that again?
Weren't we told that there was going to be no more prophets?
By Islam, according to Islam, there's not supposed to be any more prophets. That's true. Because Muhammad's supposed to be the last prophet.
No, I meant in Christianity.
In where?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
No, Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4.
Did I miss something? I didn't understand what was going on there.
I didn't hear it.
Ephesians 4 what?
Oh, Ephesians.
You can start with 4 all the way to the end, 32. And there were prophets in the book of Acts. Philip had 4 prophet daughters.
Oh, that's not that's not. I'm talking about Islam believes that there's not.
I know, but somebody asked if there were. I think somebody asked if there was a stopping of prophets anymore, and I said there is no. I personally think it's dangerous to call yourself prophet, because if you're going to call yourself prophet, there's so many things you can never be wrong. I'm not willing to have God.
Yeah, that's the road I don't really want to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Prophet, other evidence for that? Okay, so it's asking, how in the world was Muhammad a prophet? Are there any evidences for that claim? No, there's not. But let's see what the Quran says and see what their literature teaches. Okay, so the sign of prophethood is, well, miracles. What are miracles done for? We were actually discussing that this morning in Sunday school class because we're going through the book of Acts, and in chapter 3, in verses 1 through 10, you have John and Peter going to the temple to pray. And as they're going to the temple to pray, there's somebody that's lame there. And he says, I don't have any gold or silver to give you, but in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise and walk. So the guy rises and walks. And now they go into the temple and they start preaching the gospel. So the purpose of a miracle is to confirm or affirm the message that is being taught by the person that is providing it, or that
it's a statement of authority.
Right. It attests to your authority. Okay.
Yes.
So when we look at Muhammad, did Muhammad do any miracles? No. But Paul, what does it say in the Quran that he was just a messenger? He was just a warner.
He's a messenger. He's a warner. But no place does it say. There's a passage that says he's a seal. Well, if you look at a seal of the prophets, and if you look at what seals were during the time of Muhammad, they were a wax stamp that you would use a ring, and you would put it in the wax, and it would be a seal of approval. So that's actually the definition of a messenger, which is, according to Islam, a messenger affirms the words of a prophet. So that's all they're saying is Muhammad was a messenger.
Well, and this is what's so crazy about this is because the Quran does not describe Muhammad doing any miracles at all. I know, I get it. Well, he split the moon. No, if you read the passage carefully, it's Allah who's splitting the moon, not Muhammad. But that in of itself, I guess, would provide some type of credibility to Allah's or to Muhammad's message. Okay, I get that. However, don't you think somebody else would have saw it too?
Yeah, it's not recorded in history anywhere.
The moon splitting, and you're looking up and say, "Whoa, look at that!" And
well, here's something you guys need to realize, that if the moon had actually split, there would be catastrophic earthquakes. Okay, because remember what actually governs the tides of the oceans. Yeah. We'd have tidal waves and all kinds of
tsunamis
stuff,
like you wouldn't believe would have happened.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to quit making sense. Just believe, because if you don't believe, that's apostasy.
Well, hold on. If you're a follower of Islam, you have to take your brain out in order to accept Islam.
Well, this is the purpose of the show. This is why I'm saying it's just you have to the credulity that one has to endure in order to believe some of these things is absolutely painful to look at. Okay, what else we got to know here? He's the father. Is not the father of your men, but he is the apostle of God. The seal, there you go, the seal of the prophets, and God has full knowledge of all things. And when we look at this hadith, it says, I stood behind him and saw the seal of the prophet between his shoulders. And it was like
they're talking about the mole on his back.
A mole, huh?
Yeah,
a mole,
the mole on his back.
Wow,
all 10,
incredible.
Egg of a partridge. Okay.
And
wow, that's a huge mole. That sounds more like a cyst.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he has the seal of prophecy, a mole of an unusual size on the prophet's back, which
it sounds like a cyst. It sounds like he has cancer.
Yeah.
That's a MOSS, mole of unusual size.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. You guys talked about the moon. Sorry, I was stepping away. I was cooking a chicken. NASA science has proven this. Neil Armstrong went to the moon. He found the crack. And at the same time, when he landed, there's an interruption in the transmission, but NASA scientists have heard it up because the moon was perfectly aligned with Mecca during the call to prayer on a Friday, I think. Okay. And Neil Armstrong heard that coming in, And he said, "What's that?" But NASA scientists have removed that because they don't want you to know. And it wasn't until years, decades later, when Neil Armstrong was on a world tour and he went to Egypt and he heard the Adhan, the call to prayer, and he said, "By Allah, I know what that sound is now." And he became a Muslim like that, right there on the spot. And he's been a Muslim ever since. Alhamdulillah. No, it doesn't matter what NASA scientists say.
And didn't
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't I mean, we have him in wearing a kufi. I mean, we have pictures of this, right? I mean, you've seen him on Facebook, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, of course. Yes.
I hate
he
to
went to
say
Mecca.
this, guys. I hate to say this, guys, but Neil Armstrong himself said he was a deist. So, there you go.
No. After getting on the moon and seeing the evidence from himself, he's still this.
Yes.
It's not
Okay.
satisfactory for Neil Armstrong.
Yeah, he was a
Again,
deist.
that's a cover up. He said he was a Methodist. He was born a Methodist, and he will die a Methodist. But no, that is all the cover up. That is all kufr lies. You can't believe that because clearly the reason why you can't believe that is because Muslims have said that Islam says there's a crack in the moon. Neil Armstrong went to it, found the crack, and heard the Adhan prayer, and then later converted to Islam when he heard the Adhan prayer in Egypt. Come on.
I know, and I would if I hadn't seen it on the internet, I wouldn't have not believed it myself. But I've seen it on the internet, and
of course.
Okay,
All
so
right,
again, here we're of course we're being very flippant about this, but this is the credulity that you have to engage in some of these evidences that are provided. And when you were trying to engage in serious dialogue with people, these are claims that you have to be. You just can't dismiss. You just cannot dismiss something that somebody has put credibility to. You have to address it. Because if you don't address it, well, then they'll, of course, the common claim is, oh, he's running away. He's trying to avoid the topic. And we clearly can demonstrate that this is true. And you have
they don't bring you.
And that's unfortunate. It's like arguing with, a fifth grader. In a lot of times, that's what it feels like when you're doing this.
And they never bring sources ever.
And that's the thing. And that's exactly. And that's what I'm going through this right now. Hold on. Let me see if this guy has responded, but we were going back and forth on, bring me a source. Cite me an artifact from pre 7th century Mecca. Show me a map. Show me where somebody mentions this in the right location, and where how these people are wrong when they describe it as being uninhabitable. And then he starts accusing me of being crazy. You're crazy. You're going against all consensus of science. I'm just asking you to confirm what they're writing. Then just show me a piece of shard of pottery. That's all they would have to dig out of the Zamzam well. A shard of pottery that predates the 7th century.
Well, the Zamzam well is you go down a few feet and you're into a pipe.
What's that, Paul?
You go down maybe a foot and you're in a pipe. It's all from a pipe.
Well,
it's hilarious when Muslims figure that out.
What did they say? 33 million gallons an hour or something like that? I forgot what it was.
I'm not sure.
It's insane.
The well itself, the well itself does produce a natural amount of water. It does. But the water is running out from the hills down, because it's going down off of a plateau down towards the Red Sea. So you're going to have water running underground, a natural aquifer going through there. This is true, and it does produce a lot. It does produce a lot of water. I think it's like 1.5 liters a second. So there is a lot of water that does run through there. But here's the problem, though. The problem is that you have to, even if you have the water there, then you have to turn around and have agricultural land. You have to have land there where you can grow food. Because if you can't grow food, you don't have anything to eat. And if you don't have anything to eat, you're going to starve. You don't have anything to eat, you're not going to have any towns there. You're not going to have any civilization there. And if you don't have civilization, you're not going to have any religion. And if you can't, and even if you were able to get this amount of water out of the ground, you then have to show us how they've irrigated. How you have to show proof of irrigation in the surrounding area from that water source.
Okay, let let me comment on this. And someone who has been studying the man-made water crisis in California. When you talk about a liter, what did you say? A liter a second?
Yeah.
A liter a minute. A liter a minute.
No, it's
that's
second. It
that's
is
still nothing. That's still nothing.
I get it.
Do you know how much water, okay, that they need to irrigate fields in California, which is a desert in itself? They don't measure it in gallons. They measure it in acres. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And it is a lot of water that they actually let run into the ocean because there's a fish that's not actually native to the area. But this fish, they say, well, because the water, you're sucking the water out of the reservoir rivers, that you're killing this little minnow fish, this little, what do they call them things? Smelt.
Something darter, something snail darter.
Yeah, whatever. It's not even native to the area. But anyway, point being is this. I digress on this. Point being is this. This Zamzam well, okay, doesn't produce enough water to produce agriculture in this region. Hasn't for centuries. And they're telling us that it's producing all this water to run fountains and you can all the millions of people that come and visit, they get their little flask from it. They can drink it, whatever. No. Okay, they're piping this crap in, dude. Okay.
Yeah, well, today they are, right. And actually let's see, 791, the wife of the caliph built an aqueduct, and it took 10 years to build, and I think it was finally started to use in 801. And they had to start bringing water in for the pilgrimage. And that's why, because the Zamzam well did not provide enough water for the people who are making a pilgrimage that early in the phase.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to cite that source. That'd be
I have it. I have it someplace.
all right. Well, either way, next time.
No, I have it. I have it right here. I don't sit there and act like I don't have this stuff. Let's see.
Bottom line, people, if you're listening, okay, here's the thing about Islam. Okay, Islam, they come up with all this goofy stuff. And they try to justify it. You can't really justify it because it's just really this goofy. But more importantly, if you look at their stuff, it's like, well, actually, did you guys watch the debate between that one guy and Dr. Michael Brown? That I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah,
I mean, he slammed him. He won the argument in the opening statement.
Yeah. Well, this Muslim doesn't realize that he actually thinks he wasn't, even though everybody was laughing at him. It's kind of funny, but no, he actually was kind of funny because he brought up. He's like, oh, Dr. Brown talks about miracles that Jesus did that were like Muhammad. Tell me what miracle did Muhammad do, or no, that Jesus did that equaled what Moses did? And Dr. Brown says, yeah, he rose the dead. Okay, all right. And the Muslim responds, well, no, that's not a miracle. There's no difference between a dead person and a live person. No.
Oh, geez. There's no difference from a dead person or a live person.
Oh, no,
Wow.
he said a dead body and a live body. That's what he said. A dead
Speaking
body
from experience, it sounds like.
it's the same body. But look at what Moses did. He did a mighty miracle. He took a stick and transformed it into a snake. Well, guess what Jesus also did? He took water and turned it into wine. Again, transformation. Okay. And anyway, so the dude was talking out of his whatever. Yeah. But no, the point being, this is, if you read the Islamic commentaries or you read the interactions between early Christians and when they interacted with Muslims the Muslims would challenge the same thing. What miracles did Jesus do? They would tell him, and then all of a sudden Muhammad would miraculously produce a similar miracle. You know what I mean? Okay, except for raising the dead and that sort of stuff. Okay, but no, they would. They made all this stuff up based on their interaction with early Christians. And that's just kind of the funny thing that I found funny. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Okay, I found that source. Here's the source right here. I think I have it on the screen. Okay, it says the Hijaz, which is the area in and around Mecca and Medina, has been occupied for thousands of years, and numerous historical buildings and places confirm this fact. This is true, but it doesn't include Mecca. Among these historical places is Ayan Zubadiyah, an important example of Islamic heritage and a masterpiece of engineering. The construction of the Qanat aqueduct began in the 8th century and completed in exactly 801 AD to provide a permanent water supply for the pilgrims and residents of Mecca. It is named Ana Zubadiyah after the wife of the caliph. It was who commissioned and paid for its construction. The project required 10 years to complete and was 38 kilometers in length. And it gets its water from the Wadi Numan. And and it was to provide water to the people making pilgrimage. This was 170 years after Muhammad. So they did not have enough water at that time to provide enough water for people making the pilgrimage, so they had to build an aqueduct. And it remained in use until 1050, and there's some other things here, but I posted the link in chat just in case you want to click on it to check to see if this Kaffir's just making up or if I'm not. How's the archaeology going in Mecca? And it is not. That's the problem. It's not going. There is no archaeology in Mecca. Dan Gibson went to an archaeological conference in Saudi Arabia, and this is where it kind of piqued the interest of people around him, because he asked him and said, okay, well, what type of archaeological evidence do we have for Mecca? And they said, well, they got something from the 12th century from an old Ottoman fort, or 13th century from an old Ottoman fort. That's it.
Oops.
Yeah, that's it. So when we think about and this is why I think this is, and I'm not one to lean on conspiracies that fast, even though I think they do happen, but not at the regularity that some people do. But anyway, I believe that the Saudis understood this and they knew this. And in order to maintain their position as host of the place of Mecca, of the Kaaba, and to maintain that control around of other Arab countries, they purposely dug it up and hauled it off. And this is why you find all of these high-rise, not office buildings, they're apartment buildings that surround the Kaaba. If you were truly interested in preserving, the ambiance or the religious nature of that, you would have definitely built those high rises a ways away. There's no reason to build them that close to the Kaaba unless you're trying to get rid of the evidence. And by digging down to build the foundational,
it's a statement that there's nothing sacred there, is what you're saying, and I think that's the important piece people need to hear. There is nothing sacred about Mecca, and wherever Muhammad supposedly walked, they don't consider anything sacred. Via Dolorosa still exists today.
Right? Yeah, I've walked it.
That
is just, it's just, I tell you, it's just okay.
Oh, tell them what we're talking about. When
I just
got on that.
Trip to Israel is just so amazing when you are walking the same streets that our Lord and Savior. It's just
yeah, awe-stricken.
Yeah. It is. It just you with your through the mouth. It's just amazing. It really is. If you ever have the opportunity to go there and do that, and this is exactly what I think you're alluding to here, Paul, is that we hold in esteem these historical places where Jesus Christ lived, worked, and interacted, and did his miracles and ministries.
Well, I'll even make it easier and less significant. And okay, so my family history is from England. And if I want to go back to find my family history, I have to go to England. And you know what? A lot of those things are there from centuries ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what does that say about a place that calls themselves, they say that Mecca existed, but there's nothing historical there.
Right. Well, and they've also, what was it?
We built the Kaaba a
This is,
couple
made,
times.
this is what made big news.
Did they lose?
Boo, hiss. Oh, well.
Less than a minute to play. Bummer.
I'm just making it to the champion. I mean, this is Iowa. Iowa, we don't get to relish in too many things.
And especially when you're going up against the SEC, man, you can just hang it up.
Oh, that's mean.
Did you see his face?
All right.
Eric.
I'm gonna get Eric happy. Let's go back to this topic. Let's go back to that topic.
Okay, so all right, let me get this off of my screen here. What is doing here? This is right there. Okay, so the sign of prophethood. That's what we were on, wasn't it? That was what
Yes.
we were on. Sign of prophethood. Okay, so the sign of prophethood, we have it. So that was the mole of an unusual size. Okay, so the sign of a prophet. Of course, there it is, right there, prophesied in the Bible. This is what we would expect to find on a prophet. What was that? A mole in the middle of your back. And if you believe that, I'm sorry. I don't know what else.
Moses never spoke about that. It would have to align with what Moses said.
I'm trying to figure out.
You silly kafirs. The hairy was not just a mole on his back; it was a hairy mole, and the hairy mole looked like a camel. Clearly, this is a sign of the most beloved prophet, the seal of the prophets, the last of the prophets.
So now a seal is a hairy mole instead of a messenger.
Right.
Oh, you silly
kuffar. Okay, now we're looking at the another proof other than a mole. Us dumbikins just can't understand. By getting so you become a prophet by getting a big skin cancer. Yeah. Okay. Second sign of prophethood here is the manner in which he received the revelations. Now, some people said he acted as a drunkard. Now, we find this in Ibn Hisham in the Sirah.
Yes.
That's how it came to him, where he started acting like he was drunk, or he would start foaming at the mouth.
Snore.
This is why they said he had temporal lobe epilepsy. Yes.
Yeah, this is a sign of epilepsy. Exactly right.
Yep.
It says he heard buzzing of like a bee. So the messenger said, it would be like
temporal lobe epilepsy. That's part of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And he would start perspiring the size
temporal lobe epilepsy.
Maybe this was it. Or he would hear ringing bells.
Again,
there you go.
Okay, so we could call him the epileptic prophet.
Epileptic prophet.
False prophet.
Yeah, false. We have to put that false up there.
The ringing of bells. I mean, this stuff, and the significant part is that it caused him pain. It's the hallucination that is so powerful. Yeah, that's part of temporal lobe epilepsy.
Yeah, he had it really bad.
Yes, and that's actually talked about and there's series that cover it, so it's pretty big.
So if
doctors talk about it.
Do we have any record of any biblical prophet that would, when he received a revelation from God, where he would feel physical pain?
Or flop around like a fish? No.
Flop around like a fish? No.
Like a foam at the, what is this? Foam at the mouth?
Foam at the mouth?
Camel?
No.
They were holy men of God, moved by the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so nobody
totally coherent every time.
Heard like buzzing of a bee, perspiring, ringing of bells, not ringing a bell with any of us. Okay.
Foaming at the mouth.
I don't think I think he's got to be the only guy I've heard that they just. I mean, is that really a nice thing to say about your prophet? He moans like a camel.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
Or like a calf.
Yeah, a young calf.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Who is Satan and what does he do? All right, let's take a look at this one. Who is Satan and what does he do? According to Islam, Satan urinates in your ears. And that is if you don't get up for the early morning prayers, he'll urinate in your ears. And let's see, the prophet said, yawning is from Satan. So if any one of you yawns, you should check his yawning as much as possible. For if any one of you during the acting of yawning, he should say, ha, Satan, will you laugh at him? That makes no sense at all. Herrera, Satan has stayed in the upper part of his nose all night. So Satan is urinating in your ear, making you yawn, and then living in your nose.
He sleeps in your nose.
And here, let's see, narrated, how as the apostle said, when the Adon is pronounced, Satan takes to his heels and passes wind during his flight in order not to hear the Adon.
So he makes loud farts. Satan's good at loud farts. I'll say it.
That is one of the
That's just idiotic.
What kind of faith structure talks about loud farts?
Right.
Oh, wait, you silly bastard. Do you not know that the fart interrupts your prayer? And how do you know fart interrupts your prayer?
Don't forget you got to ask if it made a smell.
If it made a smell or a sound. But then if it doesn't make a smell, it is wholly from Allah. Because the stinky farts come from the shaitan.
Golly.
So their Satan has a bottom. Their Satan has a bottom.
Oh yeah.
That means he goes to the bathroom too.
Yes.
So he pees and then he goes to the bathroom in the other end.
He's a physical character. He's not totally spiritual. So he must consume. You have to consume in order to do those things. What's he eating?
He's eating the bones in the trash. No, the hadith, it says he lives in the garbage. He eats the bones. And
if he lives in the garbage, how does he end up sleeping in your nose? But his Satan is omnipresent. That's the real truth of it.
Yeah, the Satan is more powerful than Allah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, go ahead, Darcy.
No, actually,
Darcy's trying to say something. Hey, you guys,
Paul.
Is
Allah.
Yeah, Darcy's trying to say something, you men. Thank you, Darcy. Go ahead, hon.
Trying to say that Satan is so physical that Muslims wash him out of their nose. They're trying to drown him or something.
That's so true.
And how many Satans are there? If some of the Muslims don't wake up, early enough to say their prayers, I mean, how many shaitans are there?
Well, he's omnipresent according to them.
So he's a god.
Well, he has the.
If he's omnipresent,
he has the same characteristics as Allah in the Quran.
Satan is not okay. I'm trying to think of what's that thing's called where you put your nose back and you put distilled water in it, and it's called.
It's a nasal wash.
Yeah, but it's called a neti bottle. Does that sound? Kettle?
No, it starts with an N, but it's pot, something like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I've done that before.
Nasal wash is all I can think
of. When you get like a nasal infection, as much as I sneeze, I have all kinds of sinus problems. You would think I would do that more often, but I just can't stand that water because when you do that, it washes in the back of your throat, and you're just like, I know. It's just anyway.
I can just see the Muslims clip that, because we're talking about how Satan is in your nose, and Eric the Kafir is saying he's got all kinds of sinus problems.
Interesting.
So clearly, this is proof of Allah. The Kafir has all kinds of sinus infections because the Satan is so in his nose.
But no, wait a minute. He doesn't urinate there. He urinates in your ear.
Okay. Next topic. I've titled this "Finding Love in All the Wrong Places," like elementary school. 100, Alex.
Could this be
like on Jeopardy? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what do you think this one's going to be about? Oh, gee whiz.
Forbidden love. Let me put it that way.
Let's see here. This is Quran 65:4 for those who have not menstruated. So there is a provision in the Quran. This is even if you have your Quran only apologists trying to make excuses for what Muhammad did. Even in the Quran, you can get rid of the Sunnah. You can get rid of the Hadith. It's Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Al-Nasi. all say that Aisha was 9 years old, narrated Aisha, meaning that she was there. Oh, by the way, but even it's codified in the Quran, right here in 65:4, we're talking about the waiting period for a woman after you divorce her. And this is one of the sickest things that it says, and those who no longer expect menstruation among your women, if you doubt their period is 3 months. And those who have not yet menstruated. Quran 65:4. So what they're doing is they're saying that if they have not menstruated, you have to give them at least 3 months before you can release them from the marriage. You can divorce them, but you have to keep them around for at least 3 months. Have not yet menstruated. They're pre-pubescent, and you're having sex with them. And on top of that, you are divorcing, traumatizing them by having sex with them, and then again traumatizing them by divorcing them. The Allah of the universe found it necessary to do this. So it's in Bukhari how old she was when Aisha was 9. Again, it's in Bukhari. She had not yet reached the age of puberty, and this was according to Tabari, his commentary on this. And then we look at who is this? This is, I think this is Muslim, to be honest with you. I was 9 years of age. Aisha, please be reported that when she was 9, and Muhammad died when she was 18. So when you look at the ages of when she was 9 and he died when she was 18, it all lines up consistently with history, and none of these numerical or mathematical gymnastics people go through at times trying to defend this to say that she was older. It says that she was 9 and Muhammad died when she was 18. He wasn't 18 when he married her. Where else is it saying? Bukhari consummated his marriage when she was 9. Abu Dawood. Aisha says he had intercourse with me when I was 9. Ibn Abbas. When we start, okay, so here we're going to be looking at what the commentators on this passage have to say. Your most trusted scholars.
You silly Cafford, don't you know that Nelly, what's his name, Nelly? Who's the one that just got charged or just got convicted of all kinds of sexual assault? But anyway, don't you know he wrote the song "Age Ain't Nothing But a Number"? Come on, man, you gotta play that. Age ain't nothing but a number, yo. Disproves Islam is a prophet.
That's
Really
gross.
gross.
I mean, Muhammad is a prophet. Come on.
Who is this?
Besides, what's his name? Nelly, the black singer songwriter that they protected for years. He now just got like life sentence and multiple charges for. What's his name? Nelly, not Nelly. I don't know. I have to look it up. But he wrote the
Is that
song.
the British guy we're talking about?
No, American. He's from Chicago.
Oh,
Age ain't nothing but a number.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, clearly, this proves Islam is wonderful from Allah and Muhammad is a prophet, because he did what Nelly did before Nelly made it cool, but then went to prison. Anyway,
it just occurred to me that
but none of you Kafirs were there.
All these sinus problems that I'm having might be from Satan getting in my nose at night.
Oh.
Why did I think that?
I'd be careful. He's sleeping in your nose and then he farts. Yeah. Oh
no,
my gosh!
I can barely hear
nasal infection right there.
barely hear to begin with, because I wear these. I wear these things because I can barely hear to begin with. So he's urinating in my ear. That might be why I'm deaf too. Wow.
They use scare tactics. If you don't get up, here comes Satan. If you don't do that, Satan's going to get you. If you don't do this, Satan's going to get you. It's like, it's just nothing but a religion of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
So sad.
It is. And the fear of what? Well, fear of committing apostasy. If you commit apostasy. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to this topic. I think I had several cited. Yeah, let's go back to see what the
another thing, you Kafir. Don't you know that you weren't there? So therefore, how can you know this happened?
Well, that's a great question. Aisha was there, wasn't she? Wasn't she?
Yeah, but she was just a child, so like, really, she's gonna know how old she was. Come on, you're gonna trust a child? Come on.
So the Sunni said, the Sharia says you have to accept, accept scholarly consensus. So is the person who says that she wasn't there or isn't accepting that is now considered an apostate?
Yes.
Okay, look at this one. This Aisha reported that Allah's apostle married her when she was 7 years old, and he was taken to his house bride when she was 9, and her dolls were with her. And when he died, she was 18. So Aisha is reporting that Muhammad died when she was 18. So she would most certainly know what her age was. If she knew how old she was when she was 18, she's going to know how old she was when she was 9 years old. Now, let's look at what Ibn Abbas says here. Ibn Abbas, who is contemporaneous with Muhammad, O Messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who do not have menstruation because they're too young? Along with those, because of too young, their waiting period is 3 months. So we're not talking about, because when you engage with it, you would be surprised some of the mental gymnastics you will be put through in order to see how people justify this. Because they will say, well, okay, she was a young woman. I mean, how old are people where, are women when they start menstruating? I've known women that never menstruated, women that are 16 when they menstruate. So why does she have to be 9?
So here's another question. If the prepubescent girls have to wait 3 months, is this testimony that Allah doesn't understand doesn't understand embryology?
Female anatomy. Yes.
He doesn't know any anatomy or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, poor Allah. I feel sorry for him. He needs to go back to grade school.
Yeah, and he blames it on them.
5th and 6th grades.
Yeah, he blames it on them. If you doubt what? If you doubt, wait the 3 months. If you're doubting what? So see, he blames it on, he puts it on the Muslims. If you doubt, make it 3 months.
Yeah, this again is another excuse we hear. But women were different then, and it was a hot climate. No.
Right there, they're talking about what is it? Evolution. That's evolution to me. Well, the children were different way back when because of climate. No, it's even hotter these days. It's hotter these days.
The puberty is driven by a child's weight. And children today enter puberty much earlier than what they did 1,400 years ago, even 300 years ago, for several reasons. Number one, today, in the past couple hundred years, we've had a steady supply of a high protein diet. We've been able to, and when you have a high protein diet, you gain weight faster, you develop faster. The second thing is today, unfortunately, is a high sugar diet. And, kids balloon up to gargantuous proportions because they're sitting there eating candy, sugar candy, all day long for all 3 sets of their meals. So to say that women develop faster back then is not only an excuse, but it's also anthropologically demonstrated that they haven't. People enter puberty later in life. Think of this. Catholicism. They used to have boys' choirs, and they had boys' choirs, all the way back through the monastic period. And if you listen to these boys' choirs, you cannot be in the boys' choirs and have a pubescent voice. You cannot, how your voice changes as you get older. So they're able to sing in these,
soprano, alto type
voice. There we go. Okay, soprano, alto, and all these high pitched voices. Boys are able to do this. Why? Because they had developed, and they talk about the boy, when they start going through these logs in these monasteries, you have boys 16, 17, 18 years old, still have entered puberty, and their voice still hasn't changed. They're still in these choirs there. So to say that they used to mature faster back then, it's not true. And we could demonstrate this just through manuscript evidence, instead of showing that these boys were in these choirs at much later ages as compared to today. So when we look at Ibn Abbas is agreeing here that those who have not entered or who have not entered puberty, they are too young. Why? They do not have menstruation. Why? Because they are too young. They're not old enough. So it has nothing to do with this idea that, some women don't enter puberty or don't have puberty, they go in later. No, they're too young. What does Al-Jalalain say? And as those who have not menstruated because they are young. Not because they don't menstruate, it's because they're too young to menstruate. Ibn Kathir, same thing. For those the young, the same for the young who have not reached the years of menstruation. Their iddah is 3 months. So you can go ahead and marry these girls. You can go ahead and engage in sex with these girls who are prepubescent. And then you can turn around and divorce them. And that is according to the God of the universe.
And to Allah.
That piece in the book that I'm going to be able to publish here in 9-10 short years, I give a lot of grief to, just to make sure that the reader will understand how absolutely demonic this practice is. To do this to a little girl and then to turn her out, excuse me, and to turn her out from your home after you've done this to her, it's just, there's no God in the universe worthy of worship or adoration that would give ink to this and to allow people to actually think this, which is the scholarly consensus. When we think of the scholarly consensus says, not what some westernized imam tries to make it out to be, not what some apologist who tries to engage, well, how old is really old enough? Shut your mouth. Your Quran is absolutely explicit about what you can do to these little girls. And if you are not infuriated as a man, then I'd say that you need to reevaluate what your position in life is.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly what happened in Rotterdam, England. Where you had these grooming gangs. Was it 2,500 girls?
I think the number's much
Yeah,
higher.
a bunch of savages.
The number they've decided is actually much higher, and they're afraid to discuss it.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of savages.
Gosh, just the idea of that happening to a child. We had a couple killings in Nashville this week. And they put the pictures of those girls on the TV. And to think God, it's just hard thinking about it. But how demonically inspired you have to be in order to do something that to a little child is just unthinkable. And when you see the pictures and the grieving families of this, and Rad is, where's Rad? Is Rad still here? Where's Rad? Rad is big on this, and we've gone back and forth on how demonically inspired these people are. You look at what they did in the Tennessee State House, the Kentucky State Houses. These people they're crazy, and you can see it. I brought this up in church this morning. Not from the pulpit. I'm not a preacher, but in my Sunday school class, we were talking about, well, what would it actually look like? What would somebody who has been demonically indwelt or inspired sound like? And what would they be trying to push? If they would be trying to push this idea that it is our fault, our Christian beliefs that are keeping them from reaching their fulfillment in engaging in these types of behaviors where they're mutilating themselves and saying, "Oh, look at me! I can decide whether or not I'm a man or a woman or I'm a guy or I'm a girl." I get to decide, not God. Well, that's playing God itself. And to see these people in the way that they protest. They had one of them was this guy. He was standing with the sign and saying that something about, and it was about the children, saying you're doing this to children. It was a protest against mutilating children or having children saying that they're transgender, and then giving them these puberty blockers, and then sending them through all these processes, procedures, and such. And you have two transgender guys. These guys are getting right up in his face, and they're shouting, screaming at him, "F you!" And they kept saying it. And then finally, it was in Canada. That's where it was. It was in Canada. And finally, one of them, that's a tranny, he hits this guy. This is what demonic possession looks like in 2023.
It also is what Sodom and Gomorrah looks like in 2023. And isn't there something in the Bible that says it'll be like the days of Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah, right before Jesus' return?
Days of Noah. But you can make that that claim too, because the days of Noah, no one was righteous. Nobody was, and everybody was sinning. So you could about imagine the type of debauchery that people were engaging in.
Yeah, it says be just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah.
Everything good is turning into bad, and bad is being called good. So
Nail head, exactly. Hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly right.
Isaiah 5:20.
Okay, I'm sorry for the rant. It's just every time I deal with this, it just really bothers me. Okay, it's related.
I am not bothered by your rant. In fact, I was thinking about the TV, the commercials. They're coming out with more perverted type of commercials.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And oh well. But
no, I don't watch TV, so I wouldn't know.
Right. Well, you're right. And every commercial, I mean, they got dudes kissing each other in these commercials.
Yeah. I basically.
I'm glad I don't have a TV for that. Oh, God.
They got Disney Channel with the big Ramadan, basically pro Ramadan. The Disney Channel. There's I can't think of the word, but they're pushing Ramadan like it's something special.
Oh, the Disney Channel? Is that what you're saying?
The Disney Channel. Well, actually, I saw it on not the Disney Channel itself, but another channel that they own, the National Geographic.
Okay. Yeah, and didn't London have a Ramadan celebration or something like that this year? Were they?
They might have.
Was that?
I just covered a news story where they turned the Capitol green. Was France or Spain? I'll look it up real quick.
Spain? Yeah. Okay.
I was watching.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was actually watching Roots, that series from the 70s or so.
Right.
And there is Islam mentioned.
It's Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Los Angeles.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Darcy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Islam is hinted at throughout Roots, that mini-series.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I was in 4th or 5th grade when that came out, and I remember watching that, and I was just like, holy crap! They actually, being in the North, you don't understand, the impact of how slavery impacted our country as much as you do in the South. It's much different. But one thing that I will note on that, to say that people had the Islamic religion, these slaves that were captured and sold to slave traders and brought over here were Muslims, is simply not true. I know to hear this is kind of a hard fact for some people, but it's simply not true. It was Muslims who were engaging in the slave trade. They were capturing other people who were non-Muslims, because it is against the Sharia to enslave another Muslim, to enslave them, to make them become a slave when they're a free person. And so they would purposely go to war with other tribes for the purpose of not taking their land, not taking their food, to capture them so they could sell them into slavery. That was the purpose of it. And they would not do that to non-Muslims. So to say that these people were Muslims when they came, there might have been a couple that came over here. I mean, there's millions of them that were brought to the Americas, but also there was millions of them more millions of them went to Arab countries. Oh, by the way, to say that it's just not true. And it's another one of those lies that are told that we're often left to refute with facts along with that.
I just want to go back to what you were talking about, the thing that happened in Canada. Have you seen the video of the police interaction?
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Dude, they're not investigating. The dude clearly assaulted this guy. Okay.
And he's
all right.
He's standing there not saying anything.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, he's talking to a reporter, and the reporter and him are conversing back and forth.
Yeah.
Right.
And the dude's just going off cussing out. There was two of them. Anyway, finally the dude just grabs him by the throat and just starts hitting him. Okay. And the cop, there's this one cop shows up. Well, actually, there's a bunch of cops. Anyway, the interview with the cops, this one male cop, he actually says, no, I'm not going to investigate until you calm down. The reporter is just calmly asking him. But the cop is like, no, you need to calm down. So you're going to discuss this with me rationally. He's like, so that's the degree that you investigate an assault? Is if the person who's been assaulted has to be calm and rational? Well, anyway, they said we showed. He's like, no, you didn't show me any video. So I showed this video to this woman over here, the police officer over here, and she comes over all smiling. No, you didn't show me any video. It's like, what are you talking about? We showed you the video 3 times, and in the video they show them playing the video for her 3 times. So they show him the video, and this blonde cop's like, yeah, okay, so actually misgenders the guy. Okay, she's like, okay, so a man in a and then describes him. Okay, let's go look for him. But then they refuse to look for him. And then the male police officer comes up and says, and he's shouting at him, you need to do de-escalation. Do you understand that? We're trying to de-escalate this. We're trying to keep the peace here. You need to practice de-escalation. No, we don't. You need to go and arrest the dude who assaulted this guy. No, seriously, it is this cult, dude, that has taken over, and it is insanity. And I just want to address one more thing real quick. Getting into this, they actually have now Boston. If you go to Fox News, a plastic surgeon at Boston Children's Hospital says that. Let's see. A Boston Children's Hospital co-director at its Center for Gender Surgery called for a drastic increase in capacity for what he called gender-affirming care, including surgeries. So they want to ramp this up. I honestly think they realize this is evil. When I mean this is not just evil, this is wickedness. This is hatred against God. What does the Bible say when it's talking about relationship between men and women? It says, nobody love your wife as you love your own body, because nobody ever hated their own body. And here we have clear indication where they're teaching these children to hate their own body to the point of actually cutting off their reproductive organs in order to sterilize them so no more babies can be made. I mean, this is the evil and wickedness of this, okay? This is ultimately wicked. And I think because more and more of these GD transitioners are coming out saying, you mutilated me, I'm now sterilized. And even, did you guys see? Okay, sorry to hijack this, sorry to Matt in the show here. This is very important. Did you guys see? There's this doctor called Marcy Brown. She's actually she is a he that transitioned, right? Okay, and became a doctor, a plastic surgeon, or whatever. She is the foremost leader, okay, in transgender care, what they call care. She actually worked, okay, on that jazz boy girl freak, okay, for TLC. If you guys know what I'm talking about, who now is regretting having these surgeries, okay? Anyway, this dude gives a webinar to Duke University of physicians that are treating this, and he actually says that in the hundreds of cases that he has treated, okay, that have started puberty blockers at Tanner stage 2. Tanner stage 2, which is 9 years old, okay? Of all of them that I think he mentioned a number like 500, and he knows of no literature that contradict us. None of them will ever have an orgasm. Even if you stop the puberty blockers, okay, at a later state, even if you don't do the bottom surgery, what they call the bottom surgery, never have an orgasm. Now, this dude's point is, well, maybe we should start them later, like after they have their first orgasm. Then we can re-experiment, okay, on them, okay? In other words, he's trying to adjust the guidelines. But hold on, I want to give you something. This is the last thing I promise people. I promise.
I heard it up.
Okay. So this person, this Marcy person, sits on the board of this group called WPATH. WPATH actually sets, well, the government is listening to them, and governments all over the world are listening to them, including the WHO. They set the guidelines for trans children care. Okay. Well, now remember, Marcy says about 6 months ago that no, if you give puberty blockers to Tanner stage 2, they're not going to reach orgasm. WPATH, even though she sits on the board, 6 months later comes out and says, revises its guideline that you should give puberty blockers at Tanner stage 1. Okay, this is just stop it right away. Okay, hold on, wait. I'm going to finish up with this. 3 of the people that are on this WPATH board, WPATH actually cites one of these doctors in its article, in its paper, for revising their guidelines on transgender care. Get this, 3 of them actually. But the one dude they cite, he's a doctor, blah blah. He runs a forum that talks about fantasies. It's a fetish of castrated children. And they write about, all kinds of sick shit, Nazi experiments of having sex with boys that are castrated, all kinds. This is their fantasy. This is what gets them off, is castrated. It's called castration fantasy. And these are the people, these are the doctors, the experts, okay, that are writing this crap, okay, and they're deliberately doing this because they hate God. There's no other reason for this. This is supernatural. This is wicked. Just evil, but it's not just evil. It is wicked. And they are doing this right now in our hospitals.
Well, let's watch how some of these people act when you
also play the one that interacted with the cop, because I think that's the best one. But go ahead if you got it. I
would if somebody would allow me to talk here.
Okay, sorry, but I'm sorry to go off on the rant. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. Now this is, and forgive, I'm just going to let you know, they continuously drop the F-bomb here. So if you're offended by it, tune in.
Children, leave the room. Have the adults take their children out.
Any of Dr. Smith's students who are listening, thanks to the great work of one of our show promoters who contacted you and your parents about the show, please leave the room, go watch something else, because it's really offensive. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Now tell me if you can hear this or not.
Why do you think they're getting that kind of...
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Representation. Yeah. It's clearly was aggressive, violent assault.
Notice his sign says children cannot consent. Now here comes the psychopath right here. Well, actually, there's one from here and one from over here. Where are we at? Where did I go? There we go.
You suck. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're not wanted. Fuck you. You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot.
I don't know what to say. I guess these police officers are mostly indoctrinated as well. They're afraid of the mob. I think they're afraid that if they do anything to actually keep law and order, that they'll end up being on the end of this verbal abuse. So it's just cowardice from everybody all around.
People probably want to know, how do you keep your composure?
Now listen, this is what demonically inspired spirit sounds like.
What's up?
How do you keep your composure?
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Nothing.
Fuck you! 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 Hey! Get the fuck out!
Oh, wow.
Okay, so there you have what a demonically inspired. Okay.
So what happened there, in my opinion, having been in a similar scene in London, Ontario, you have there the town official has told the police to stand back, and that would be the mayor of the area or the usually the mayor, somebody of that kind of authority, told the police to stand back and to only act if the other side, that was a direction from above the police level. That's what I see there. While the police may want to act, they've been ordered not to.
Okay.
Unless there's violence, right? Unless there's violence.
Violence from the side of the right. And there was no
interviewing of the police officer.
Say he came here to incite violence by forcing his opinion on people?
Yeah. Yes.
You think he came here to incite violence because they got offended by his sign?
When you talk to someone and scream at someone and
he didn't scream at all.
Yes,
he didn't. They put their face in his face. What is wrong with you?
Okay.
So you're saying the guy who
How on earth did you become a police officer? She is literally sitting here saying that Billboard Chris is inciting violence by standing there with his sign. Is that really your position?
Okay, sir. We're done with this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Wow, what an idiot.
Yeah, that is so one-sided.
Understand,
she's
while
busted.
she's saying this, there is no freedom of speech in Canada. There is freedom of expression. And everything you say, do, or write is subject to the Human Rights Commission. So they do not have freedom of speech like you do here in America. And that would be that police officer's justification.
I'm wondering if
I don't really like how he talked to that police officer, though. Whether what she said is true or not, he was extremely disrespectful and hostile.
Well,
I mean, that's just my
after she said what she did, I'm with him. I'm with him for asking her, because she would not have answered his questions.
Yeah, I am too.
I don't think you should talk to a police officer that way. That's just my opinion. I don't think that's an appropriate way of handling it. Whether I think you could have, if I were to approach that situation, be like, well, from what I saw, from my point of view,
I think he
how would
already
you feel
did
if
that,
someone
is
is
what he
standing?
said. I think that's the part that got kind of cut. Is he said?
I'm just saying, from the clip that we saw, he was very hostile and caustic to her. She seemed to be very polite.
No, he's
and he was
not.
very hostile.
Okay, play it again. Play it again,
No, he's
Eric.
not.
Play it
No, he's
again one
not.
more time, Eric. Just that man talking to that officer. I want to see it.
Excuse me.
One more time.
Okay, he's walking up to her and he noticed he said,
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Did you just say he came here to incite violence by forcing his opinion on people?
That's pretty polite.
You think he came here to incite violence because they got offended by his sign?
When you
What
talk
is
to
wrong
someone
with you?
and scream at someone and
He
put
didn't
your
scream
face,
at all.
Yes,
he didn't.
did.
They put their face in his face. What is wrong with you?
Okay.
So you're saying the guy who
How on earth did you become a police officer?
That's where I agree with him.
Literally sitting here saying that Billboard.
That's super.
Yeah, okay.
I agree everything what that guy said, because that's a legit question. How did you become a police officer when you're lying about that man?
I figured it out. I figured it out.
The
Her
approach,
I
but
figured it out. Hold on, guys. I got it. I got this. Hold on. I figured it out. I figured out that her training officer was a certain police officer that worked in Georgia that got fired for scuffing up some child. So he must have been a training officer. That's my most logical conclusion.
Stop. But I used to, I love you, brother, but I have to disagree with you on that. That was very polite. I would have been more outraged if some dude pretending to be a woman that was 6 foot something tall in heels or whatever came and assaulted me because I'm just standing there, got it in my face and started screaming "F you, F you, F you," and this cop is saying that I'm the one screaming in someone's face.
Right.
and I deserve
Right.
the attack.
Okay, Rad, this is the position from somebody that is supposed to be representing the press, and to say something. If you individually said that, okay, fine, I'm down with that struggle. But here you have somebody, and I think this is what Issa's complaint was: is that okay? You have somebody that is supposed to be part of the press, and then they're saying something like that to a police officer.
It's not professional. It's not a professional way to handle it. I would handle it in a very different way. You don't talk that way when you're
Again, he approached her. He approached the woman politely. He said, "Excuse me." He asked her questions,
and then he said,
and she said that she lied. She absolutely lied.
Right.
And that's where
And you
she
call her on that.
disrespected herself as an officer.
Here, okay,
Right.
This is okay. I'm going to segue back into what today's show is about. Watch the genius in me on this. Okay,
but no, hold on, Eric. No, you got to play the part where the male cop comes up, the training officer. No, seriously,
I don't have that. I don't have
all
that.
right, I'll find it. We can play it later. Go ahead, but continue back, and I'll find it.
I don't have that part. But here's the segue. We are all incredulous at that police officer's response.
Yes.
Why? Because we were just shown a video clip of what happened to this guy. This guy wasn't saying anything to that demonically possessed guy that wants to pretend a woman, and he was shouted at by all these people around him, and then he was assaulted by this guy, and then the police officer says, "No, that's not what I saw. What I saw was your guy was shouting at them. He was provoking them to that type of anger." That is the credulity that I am talking about when we look at these verses in the Quran.
Hey, Eric, I got to ask you a question. Since you're
indignant, knowing not only intuitively, but also knowing that it's written on our heart to see things like this, that we should become angry and stand up for it. Go ahead, Connie.
Well, Eric, on credulity, that woman now goes before a court of law as a witness, as a police officer. And this is shown in the court after she testifies about anything else. So she's there, she's arrested a murderer. She says she saw the murder. They show this. What kind of credulity does she have?
Well, she doesn't have any credibility, is what she doesn't have. Yeah, she has zero credibility.
Yeah.
But you are indignant. I would be indignant. How dare you say that you saw something completely different than what we have right here on videotape? You want to see this again? You want to see where they come up to him? He's not talking to them. He's not dealing with them. He's dealing with the reporter, and they approach him and start shouting all these profanities in his face. And then they assault him. And now you're telling me, no, he provoked that? This is credulity. How dare you? I mean, how dare you say that, something like that to me, especially in this day and age? So here, let me show you something that Muhammad did in the Hadith, where you and I would say, well, wait, how can you actually believe this guy was ever a prophet? Well, thank you for asking. Here we go. It says right here, in a hadith, it says, it is related that Anas, when Abdullah bin Salam heard of the arrival of the messenger of Allah in Medina, he went to him and said, I will ask you 3 things about which only prophet knows. And we've been through this all 100 times on this show. And that would be, what is the end of the world? What is the first thing you eat when you get to heaven? And why does the child look like their parents? And Muhammad says, well, when the first sign of the hour will be the people from the east to the west, and there will be fire. And then the first food we're going to eat is some type of fish liver, which is absolutely nasty and gross, but forget that fact. And then as for the child's resemblance, when the man has intercourse with the woman and his discharge is first, it will resemble him. If she has discharge first, then it will resemble her, he said, which is this Anas Abdul bin Salam. He said, I testify that you are a messenger of Allah.
My brain just went screaming out the door.
Yes. Okay. So this is the type of credulity that we are forced to endure when this.
The level of stupid is incredible.
Yes. Well said.
Okay, this is the type of credulity that we are forced to endure when dealing with Sahih Hadith. Sahih Hadith.
No wonder Jesus treads the wine press when he comes back. I mean, man, really?
Say that one more time.
I said, no wonder Jesus treads the wine press when he comes back.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's. I don't want to speak for God. I'm not. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that. But this is just absolutely ridiculous in light of 21st century science. Now, if you're sitting in the 7th century, this might have sounded like maybe music to your ears. But if you have, and notice. Oh no, hold on. Hold on. Let me go back here. Hold on, just a second. I want to show you something. The prophet knows, Father, and the messengers of Allah said, Jibreel, look at it right here. It was right here. So he gets the message from his sock puppet. Jibreel has just informed me about them, about those questions. So here you have Muhammad turning around and getting this revelation from Jibreel just like that. Why? Because he wants to demonstrate that he's a prophet. And what does he say? Well, the end of the day, people are going to die by fire. Well, we can't prove that until the end of the earth. And when you get to heaven, you're going to have fish liver. Well, we can't prove that until you get to heaven. However, what we can prove is that you don't look like your mama and you don't look like your daddy because one of them had an orgasm first. That we know is what most is true. So in order to say that.
Is it true? Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is
weird.
Like some weird Saturday Night Live skit.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's worse than Saturday Night Live, man.
Standard response. We have to wait for a science.
Yeah, it's more perverted
And,
than.
and you know, Eric, if I may,
yeah.
you know the earthquakes that happened in Turkey. They're taking now those children that have no mother and father, and they're marrying those children off.
What?
Yes.
Yes.
They're marrying them off.
You have
Right.
to remember that in Islam, there's no real reason to take care of orphans, thanks to Muhammad.
Yeah. So here we go again, all over again. Those children are being married off. Children.
Yeah,
So they say, well, way back when it happened and it was okay, you know, but now, no, it's happening now. And Turkey, there you go again.
Well,
Boom.
it's right there in our intro that when we put that in the intro.
Exactly. Afghanistan,
where he's marrying that 65-year-old scumbag, marrying a 9-year-old little girl. You just want to
You want to put yourself in front of him and block him from that little girl. You want to protect that little child.
I want to do. I would definitely be little.
You know, just run right smack into me. And that's what I tell the Muslims in clubhouses. I'm letting you run smack into me so that you will not fall off that cliff that you're about to fall into. Thank you.
I'm tying them off to the next rocket to the moon, buddy.
But you kafirs, don't you understand? First of all, you weren't there, so you don't know how old she was. And you can't believe Aisha because she was a little girl and she wouldn't know, clearly. And third, Muhammad is the best of mankind, so he knows best. Okay?
We're into
That's
the Nietzsche Ubermensch.
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. What's this next one? Stay away from the animal shelter and photo studio. What could this possibly be about? Well, let's take a look. All right. Narrated Abu Talha. The prophet said, angels do not enter a house which has either a dog or a picture in it. Oh, Aisha reported that Gabriel made a promise about what? Then he cast a glance and by chance found a puppy under the cot and said, Aisha, when did this dog enter here? She said, by Allah, I don't know. And then commanded, and it was turned out. Then Gabriel came and Allah's messenger said to him, you promised me, I waited for you, but you did not come. Whereupon he said, it was the dog in your house. Who let the dogs out in your house, which prevented me, an angel of the Lord, to come For we angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or a picture.
Well, could have saved a lot of time on the movie The Exorcist, right?
Why is that?
Well, just bring a dog in, man, and
Oh yeah,
all will flee.
Yeah, I just bring my own dog in. See, come on in here, have a seat, and have a.
This one always cracks me up. I mean, an angel of the Lord, a being not of this earth, being afraid of a puppy. But if you think about it, dogs can smell evil. That's the way I look at it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's why they bit Muhammad all the time.
Now, that might be why he had a deal with dogs. I mean, most people who have problems with dogs are people who have been traumatized by them, have negative encounters with them, they've been bit by them before. That may be true.
I have no problem with dogs. If they come up to me, I just bite them back, so they don't bother me anymore. No, true story. If a dog comes up to you, well, first of all, if it's a big dog, punch him in the face, gouge your eye out, and bite them.
No.
But then bite them. No, if you bite them on the ear, no, they learn.
No.
They know.
No. If you actually pet them and say, and show them love, they actually respond to that too.
Yeah.
Not when a pit bull is attached to my arm. I ain't showing him love. I'm just saying. It ain't going to go that way. Anyway.
I had a dog running up towards me, and he was angry, scared because, he didn't know me. So I actually knelt down and just waited. And by the time he got to me, he's like, well, I'm not a threat. So...
Well, dogs out there. People that just have this mistrust for dogs because there are some dogs that are not, let's face it, they're not good dogs, and they will go over and they will bite people, and people become afraid of them. And
if they're not good dogs, it's because it's how they were raised.
Well, that's what I'm going to get to. Oh, hold on, let me get to this. I'm talking about dogs here raised in Chicago by gang members. We have it all the time.
Yeah.
Are being mauled to death by these dogs. These are not friendly dogs. These are not dogs you're going to come and love and give a hug to. These are dogs when they come up to you and they start biting you, and because they're either pit bulls or they're boxers. They just a pit bull, boxer, yes, loyal, friendly dogs. Understandable. They are loyal, friendly, attentive, blah blah blah. But one thing about these lockjaw dogs, once they get a hold of you, they do not let go. And they have power. Okay?
I think Muhammad had this divine revelation because he didn't want Aisha to have a puppy, is what it came down to.
Pretty much, yeah, probably.
Because the puppy is found first, and then the answer is okay.
But notice what the verse says, though. Notice what it says. It says a dog or a picture. So you have an inanimate object of somebody, and back then they didn't have photography. So therefore, if they don't have photography, you have a painting of somebody, even if it's a poor painting or a poor sketch of somebody. I mean, that's just
or a sand drawing.
Yeah, that's just
absurd.
Again, the credulity that we have to do in order to accept this is just absolutely. It's just nuts. All right, we're going to do one more, and I think let's not do that. What's this one? Oh, yeah, this is a fun one. Okay, you're going to like this because we had a sponsor for the show earlier that this is what it was driven by. Narrated Abu Kilaba. Anna said, some people of Ukal or Urania tribe came to Al-Medina and its climate did not suit them. So the prophet ordered them to go to their herd of camels and to drink their milk and urine. Sahih Bukhari. So drink some urine. Here we go again. Malik reported that some people belonging to the tribe of Urania came to Allah's messenger, may peace be on him, in Medina, but they found the climate uncongenial. So Allah's messenger, may peace be on him, said to them, if you like so, you may go to the camels of Sadaqah and drink their milk and urine. They did so and were right. Hold on.
Just mix a little milk with that urine. You'll be okay.
This is in the Sirah, the biography. And this is where it's explained a little bit more. The traditionals told me from whom, okay, I'm going to go down here. That it came to the apostles suffering from an epidemic and large spleens. And the apostles told them that if they went to the milch camels and drank their milk and their urine, they would recover. So off they went. Now, what happened to those guys that drank that milk and that urine? Do you guys know what happened?
They died.
Well, they didn't die.
No.
They had diarrhea for a few years.
Well, they didn't. No, they didn't just die. Okay, and this is the funny thing about this is Muslims can't deny this because all those hadith that you cite explain a Quranic verse. This Quranic verse is what you do with those that create mischief in the land, like Eric the Kafir. Okay,
Yeah.
they should be killed, crucified, okay, and have their
Or
limbs
sent to drink
chopped
milk and
off,
urine.
and have their limbs chopped off on on opposite sides. Now, what they did was they woke up after drinking the lovely elixir of milk and camel urine. But come on, who haven't amongst us mixed milk and Pepsi? It's the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. Yeah. Okay.
Not quite, Rad. Not quite.
You would read further in what happened to these guys. They apostatized.
Gee, I wonder
Yes.
why.
They apostatized, and then they were killed for apostasy. If you
Hold
follow-
on, that's not the whole story because they killed the camel herders. The camel herders who gave them the camel urine to begin with. Because
Well, I mean, okay, and this is what people don't realize is that they're probably thinking this. He told us to do what? Drink what? He ain't no prophet. Let's kill this guy and get out of here.
Well, and then the
And they
guys
drove
on the
off the
camel
camel
are
herd.
sitting there. Oh my God, this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They were incredulous, the incredulity that they had to go through. This guy ain't no prophet. This guy's a psychopath.
But they also drove off the camel herd, so that tells
They
me
did.
they were trying to make an escape.
Okay.
Okay, you know what I mean? Just like in
They
the
murdered
in the
someone.
cowboy movies,
Oh,
you know,
that's
where
it.
they're escaping from the Indian camp. They get their own horse and they drive all the other horses off, so the Indians can't get the horses, etc., or the bad guys or whatever. Anyway, so they drove them off. They finally found them down. They tracked them down, and they killed them. They
tortured
crucified
them.
them.
Didn't they torture
Tortured
them?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, with fire and stuff like that. But they basically killed, crucified, and chopped off their limbs
Yeah,
on opposite sides.
They did something to
Yeah.
their eyes. Didn't they gouge out their eyes? And I can't
Probably.
remember. It was just
Yeah,
absolutely.
with red hot pokers. Mhm.
Okay.
So basically, the side effects of Allah's medicine, camel urine. We have to put the side effects. May cause you to kill camel herders and drive off their camel herd and make an escape for it, because that clearly is the side effect of the medicine.
Warning: drinking milk and camel urine
Yeah,
will
yeah.
cause you to apostatize and get killed.
Exactly. But no, this is how the verse made it into Allah's noble Quran about killing the mission makers like Eric the Kafir. And, and this is what you're to do to them: kill, crucify, and chop off their limbs on opposite sides. This is Islamic teaching. This is Islamic law. This is what you do to the mischief makers. What's a mischief maker? Anyone who drinks camel urine. I don't know, but either way, okay. This is Islam.
Wait, aren't these the one? Not just the ones that I think they specifically have to mix the milk with the urine, because otherwise they just sell the camel urine to Muslims.
Well, this is what got. I'm not going into it. But when Danny Davis posted that one picture in Clubhouse with.
Don't mention the demon's name. He's Muslims. Leave him alone.
But it was just this whole idea of people drinking raw camel urine today, straight from the hose. There's video of it. You get up on YouTube.
Yep.
If you want to be disgusted, you can go ahead and do that. But there's video of people actually doing this.
Yes.
And if you mock this practice, well, then that's somehow some type of Islamophobia or some type of anti-Islamicism. No, it's anti. It's just common sense. Don't you be drinking urine out of an animal. It'll make you sick. It'll make you. Anyway, The credulity that we're forced to suffer because our Muslims themselves are forced to suffer because you have to believe this. And if you don't, then you're apostatizing, for Pete's sake.
I think a lot of Muslims don't believe this. I think that a lot of Muslims don't really agree with hadith in general, so they probably would not even believe in this situation in general. It is in the corpus. This stuff is here, but I don't think most Muslims would even agree with this at all.
I would hope you're right on that. I would hope you're right on that. But the problem is that they're tied. They're tied to believe.
If they believe in the hadith.
Well, here's the other thing. The World Health Organization has said stop drinking camel urine.
Right.
They did.
Right.
They came out and said
yeah, when COVID happened, that's what they were doing. They were drinking the urine, and the health department told them, stop doing this. This is bad for your health.
It was before that was started. But Isa, let me address Isa. Isa, you are correct, and thank God for the Muslims' help. Most of them do not believe this, but they all pretty much defend it. Okay, and they have to force to defend it, and they come up with goofy ideas. Well, they used to take urine from a fertile horse in France, and they used to distill it down, okay, and extract estrogen from it to give it to women for infertility or something like that. I think
it's part of the pill that women take.
Right.
An ingredient in the pill, right? Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but they do defend it, and they defend it because they have to defend it because it is tied to this Quranic surah. Every hadith, every tafsir, every explanation on this surah ties it to this story. You can't have one without the other. So if you deny this hadith, you're denying this. You're denying the Quran. Basically so. But be that as say, thank God most Muslims don't agree with this, but they will defend it. But here's also the other thing: camel urine is sold in Saudi Arabia, okay, as a medicine, as an elixir, okay, all right. Okay, no, there was a case where a dude was busted for selling his own urine because he ran out of his supply. Seriously, in Saudi Arabia. I'm not making this up. This is real crap, dude. And yes, and as anyway, as Connie stated, well, Connie, it wasn't COVID, I don't think. Well, it was actually before COVID. It might have been COVID.
No, it was also COVID, sir. Yeah, it was also COVID. Thank you.
Before COVID, with MARS, remember, we went from SARS to MARS, Middle Eastern respiratory stuff that was actually coming from camels. And who said, don't drink camel urine because you're just going to get MARS or whatever it was called. Okay. Anyway, but no, they most of your Western Muslims don't believe it, but you also do have there's YouTube videos out there where these Western Muslims, Westernized Muslims or converts, they go to Saudi Arabia or someplace that has natural camel raising, and they make videos of them drinking the camel urine. And they're pouring it in silver dishes and stuff. Now, I don't know if these Bedouins are just saying, yeah, we're going to make the idiot drink camel urine because it's funny, But they do, okay?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Anyway, actually, play that video. I put the link in the Skype chat if we're ending on a time. This is the interaction with the male cop. And Issa, again, I love you, brother, but I disagree on that reaction. My reaction would have been like, are you freaking kidding me? The dude just assaulted me. He assaulted my friend. Oh, by the way, you guys are saying this guy's a member of the press. No, he's a YouTuber, which I guess you could say is a member of the press.
A member of the press. He's a member of the press.
I also wanted to say one quick thing too about that video. I'm a person who's very pro.
Oh, don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm a person who's very pro freedom, so I'm into this.
90 seconds.
So the thing that I would add quickly is that being pro freedom, I think we have a freedom to say what we want, but we can't assault. I think what those people did, what that trans woman did, was extremely wrong, and also it hurts her case. It hurts her case if she's trying to promote, her identity. It hurts her case when she does that. And I understand she might be frustrated, but there are better ways. You don't need to curse at people. We can have freedom of speech, and we can have freedom.
60 seconds.
That's what I have to say.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Again, they don't have freedom of speech in Canada.
that wasn't very ladylike of the person. But anyway, play that video. And by the way, you guys got to look up. I don't know if Eric wants to play the second video I have of the attack on Posey Parker, Kelly J. Keene in New Zealand that happened before the shooting. If she fell, if she would have tripped, they would have killed her. She would be dead.
What?
Okay, I don't know if you've seen it.
What is this Dylan Mulvaney thing?
This doesn't make any sense.
What'd you find?
All of these books are only $5 at thriftbooks.com.
Oh, it might be an ad. You have to skip past the ad. Yeah, we're not seeing anything. I gave you the timestamp. It's from a Black conservative perspective. He's a guy I follow. I highly recommend him.
10 seconds.
No, this is it. Okay, here we go. All right.
Okay, go ahead and watch this. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Well, that's your. What are you going to do about the assault? Well, I'd like to investigate it, but in a non-confrontational way.
Echo.
All right.
Rewind it. You had an echo.
Well, that's your opinion. What are you going to do about the assault? Well, I'd like to investigate it, but in a non-confrontational way. Okay, like you're obviously looking just to be confrontational. No, I'm not. So when you're ready to actually have a conversation and discuss your assault allegation, then we can get the officers over here that had already started that.
Okay.
We can do more about it.
I've already this officer. So what are we doing with the assault allegation right now?
That I showed you on video.
Can I see it again?
This is funny. This is amazing.
It's not funny. Why do you keep I showed her video. I showed her video of this man being assaulted.
Video. I couldn't.
You saw it 3 times.
No, I saw it once.
I rewound it and showed her.
Okay, let's show it again. I'll film you showing it to her.
Yeah. All right, let's show her
It's
again.
amazing. I'm going to need all your badge numbers before I go, please.
Absolutely. 1932.
All right, 1932.
1932. 1932. Okay, are you happy now?
Yeah. He's not being confrontational.
Work on de-escalation.
1932.
Have you heard of de-escalation, sir?
3297.
Is that right?
Yeah, why are you escalating?
Your badge number 3484 2907. Good stuff.
Nothing makes you happy, sir.
Yeah, it's because you're escalating the situation here, sir.
Thank you for your opinion.
Now, I'm documenting this.
You're contributing.
Only in Canada can this happen. Only in Canada.
I think I actually know this guy.
Well,
I may. That's who I think it is. Where
Okay,
was this?
Stop it.
Keep playing it. Keep playing it, dude. It gets better. Keep playing it.
Your PD complaints department's going to be busy again.
There you go. Vancouver.
And here's where it happens for the 3rd time. They're grabbing his stuff. That's assaulting him right there. Hitting him. This guy grabs some.
Okay, so what? Caucasian male, black jacket, trans flag.
Yeah, should we go find him?
Yeah, we'll take a look.
Let's go.
You need.
Totally misgenders. Well, wait, pause it. Do you realize totally misgendered?
Oh, she missed the race too because he was white.
Yeah, no, she said Caucasian, black jacket, Caucasian.
Black. Okay, I'm sorry.
She totally misgendered. They should sue her right now because she could get fired over that for misgender.
And what's your name, sir?
My name's Dan.
Dan what? What's your last name?
So are we going to go find this person now?
I think it's best not to incite violence right now.
Oh my gosh. So let me get this straight. You doing your job
Right
and
now,
finding
I'm
a guy
keeping-
so that person can go home and then nothing will come of this, correct?
I am right now keeping the peace.
So when are we
okay?
going to go find this person who assaulted me?
And what would you like me to do with them?
Charge him with assault.
Charge them with assault, arrest them, like a police officer is supposed to do. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. But instead, you're going to do nothing, and then they're going to go home, and then you're going to say, well, what am I supposed to do? This is such an embarrassment.
Okay, so that's the first step, getting your information regarding the assault investigation. allegation.
It's not cool with disrespecting police. I'm just not with it. I don't care if you don't agree with what they're doing. You cannot disrespect police. I'm sorry.
Well, you know what?
I'll
When they're not
disagree here.
respecting
In
you,
this case, I'll
Really
disagree.
not cool with that.
yeah, when they're not respecting you, guess what?
He's didn't go through police training school.
If any one of those cops, if it was any one of their family members that were attacked, I think they would have acted differently.
I mean, this whole thing is a farce. That's why I'm laughing.
Is the guy wearing a billboard?
Well, obviously, it's a farce. You're doing nothing about violent criminals assaulting people. You're doing nothing about it, and you blame me, saying I'm just trying to cause.
Who blamed you? I've asked
You did it when you did it when we already talked earlier. It's all on camera.
I blamed you.
Yes.
I said this was your fault. Wait, I'd like to see that. Could you roll that back, please? You just accused me of something. I blamed it.
You were telling me.
Oh, so you won't
that
send
I
it.
don't actually.
You won't show it to me now because that never actually happened.
I'm filming you right now.
Yeah, so you get it assaulted by a trans.
Okay, that's it. That's it on that one. Again, Issa, I don't. Well, I agree with you. You should not. You should respect police officers. Actually, I can tell you guys a funny story later on about how I actually was just arrested about a month ago because I told this little skinny cop that she should not be a police officer. No,
Okay, I'm late. Sure.
Okay, but anyway, I disagree that he was disrespecting the police officer. He was expressing his concerns that you're not investigating this crap. But all right, anyway, go look at
He's not
Posey
trained
Parker.
to know what a police procedure is. He doesn't have that skill set, so he shouldn't talk about something he doesn't have a skill set on. I'm sorry.
Well, Eric, you can leave. Eric, you can leave, and you can end the stream. Hold on, Eric, end the stream. You can go to church, and me and Issa can continue this conversation. Anyone else who wants to stay, you don't have to be here. Your participation, Eric, is not necessary in this conversation.
Chocolate.
All right, go to church.
All right, guys.
All right, later. God bless. Anyway.
God bless everyone.
God bless.
God bless.
He didn't